Have you ever wondered how Malaysia transformed from a primary commodities exporter to a leading diversified economy? Let's journey back in time to the Malaysia of yesteryears, where the economy was in its infancy, heavily reliant on the export of raw materials like rubber and tin. Malaysia was a nation grappling with economic challenges, teetering on the brink of financial instability. The economic landscape was one of limited diversity, with an over-reliance on just a handful of commodities. This was the Malaysia before its economic transformation. A nation yearning for change, for growth, for stability. Enter Mahathir Mohamad, Malaysia's longest-serving prime minister. His vision for Malaysia was a bold one, to shift the nation from a commodity-based economy to an industrial powerhouse. He envisioned a Malaysia that was not just an exporter of raw materials, but a global player in the manufacturing and services sectors. Mahathir's vision was not just a dream, but a meticulously planned strategy. He understood that for Malaysia to truly transform, it needed to diversify its economy. He knew that reliance on a few commodities was a risky strategy that left the country vulnerable to global market fluctuations. So, he set out to change this. He implemented policies designed to encourage industrialization, to foster innovation, and to promote the development of diverse sectors. Mahathir believed in the power of human capital and invested heavily in education and skills training, understanding that a knowledgeable and skilled workforce was key to driving economic growth. Under his leadership, Malaysia began to see the fruits of this economic transformation. The country started manufacturing everything from electronics to cars. The services sector boomed, creating jobs and driving economic growth. It was a period of rapid change, of growth, and of economic diversification. This was the beginning of an economic transformation that would change the face of Malaysia forever. What was Mahathir's vision, and how did his policies steer Malaysia's economic transformation? This question takes us to the heart of Malaysia's economic metamorphosis. Mahathir Mohamad, the fourth and seventh Prime Minister of Malaysia, had a clear and ambitious vision for his country. He envisioned Malaysia as a self-sufficient industrial powerhouse, not merely a producer of raw materials. To achieve this, Mahathir implemented a series of economic policies that fundamentally transformed the country's economic structure. One such policy was the aggressive push for industrialization. Under his leadership, Malaysia embarked on a journey from a predominantly agricultural economy to one dominated by manufacturing and services. Factories sprung up, churning out everything from electronics to automobiles, fundamentally changing the nation's economic landscape. Mahathir also recognized the importance of foreign direct investment in fueling Malaysia's economic growth. He made it a priority to create an attractive environment for international investors. Policies were put in place to ensure a stable, business-friendly climate, and the world took notice. Multinational corporations began setting up shop in Malaysia, bringing with them capital, technology, and expertise. But Mahathir understood that for sustainable growth, Malaysia needed more than just physical capital. He emphasized the development of human capital, investing heavily in education and skills training. He believed in the potential of the Malaysian people, and his policies were designed to unlock that potential. The impact of these policies was profound. Malaysia transformed from an economy reliant on the export of raw materials to one that produced high-value goods and services. The country's GDP per capita increased significantly, and the standard of living improved for millions of Malaysians. In essence, Mahathir's vision was for a prosperous, self-reliant Malaysia, and his economic policies were the tools he used to build this. He reshaped the country's economic narrative, turning it into a story of growth, transformation, and resilience. Mahathir's vision and policies set the stage for the economic transformation that was to follow. He left a lasting legacy, one that continues to shape Malaysia's economic trajectory to this day. How were Mahathir's policies implemented, and what was their impact on Malaysia's economy? A question that's been echoed over the years, and today, we delve into the answers. The implementation of Mahathir's policies was a testament to his strategic prowess. He faced a multitude of challenges, including a deeply rooted colonial economic structure and an initially skeptical international community. Despite these hurdles, Mahathir pressed on, guided by his vision of a self-reliant and prosperous Malaysia. Mahathir's policies emphasized industrialization, aiming to transition Malaysia from an agriculture-based economy to an industrial one. He promoted heavy industries, such as automobile production. Remember the birth of Proton, the first Malaysian automobile company? That was a direct result of Mahathir's policies. He also encouraged the development of technology industries, foreseeing the importance of digital economy long before it became a global trend. Infrastructure development was another key focus of Mahathir's policies. The Petronas Twin Towers, the North-South Expressway, the Penang Bridge. These iconic symbols of modern Malaysia are all fruits of Mahathir's vision for a developed Malaysia. But what about the impact of these policies on Malaysia's economy? Well, the numbers speak for themselves. During Mahathir's tenure, Malaysia's GDP grew at an average of 6.5% per annum, transforming it into one of the Asian tiger economies. The expansion of industries led to massive job creation, reducing unemployment to less than 4%. Mahathir's policies also attracted substantial foreign investment. His Look East policy particularly encouraged investment from Japan and South Korea, leading to technology transfer and skill development, further boosting the economy. So what's the verdict? Well, the transformation of Malaysia from a primarily agricultural economy to a modern industrial one is clear evidence of the success of Mahathir's policies. The impact of Mahathir's policies was evident in the rapid economic growth and development that Malaysia experienced, a testament to the vision of a leader who dared to dream and had the courage to implement his dreams, shaping the future of a nation. What has been the trajectory of Malaysia's economy beyond Mahathir's tenure? A question that echoes in the minds of many. Let's dive right into it. After Mahathir, Malaysia's economy continued to grow, albeit at a slower pace. The country's GDP growth rate has remained relatively stable, averaging around 4.5% per year. This steady economic growth is largely attributed to the foundations laid during Mahathir's era and the subsequent government's efforts to maintain this momentum. Diversification has been a key aspect of Malaysia's economic strategy post-Mahathir. The government has diligently sought to reduce the country's dependence on traditional sectors, such as agriculture and manufacturing, and instead has focused on the development of the services sector, including information technology, finance, and tourism. This shift towards a more diversified economy has created a more resilient and flexible economic environment, better equipped to weather global economic storms. While the country has seen continued growth and development, it hasn't been a smooth ride. Malaysia has been grappling with a number of challenges, including rising living costs, income inequality, and corruption. The government has been implementing a range of strategies to mitigate these issues, such as increasing minimum wages, promoting economic inclusivity, and implementing stringent anti-corruption measures. Efforts have also been made to foster innovation and entrepreneurship, with the aim of creating a dynamic, knowledge-based economy. The government has established various funds and initiatives to support startups and SMEs, and has invested heavily in education and research and development. These measures are designed to ensure that Malaysia continues to compete on the global stage and to sustain its economic growth. In conclusion, the trajectory of Malaysia's economy post-Mahathir has been a story of continued growth and transformation, but not without its share of challenges. However, with strategic diversification efforts, initiatives to foster innovation, and measures to tackle economic issues, Malaysia has proved its resilience and adaptability. Despite the challenges, Malaysia's economy has continued to grow and transform beyond Mahathir's tenure. It's a testament to the enduring legacy of Mahathir's vision and the relentless determination of the Malaysian people. So, what are the key takeaways from Malaysia's economic transformation? Let's summarize the salient points we've unveiled in our journey through Malaysia's economic metamorphosis. This transformation was not a miracle but a result of strategic planning, vision, and effective implementation. At the heart of this transformation was Mahathir Mohamad's vision. His economic policies, crafted with foresight, were the catalysts for change. The implementation of these policies was instrumental in shifting Malaysia's economy from agriculture-based to an industrialized nation. His vision was not confined to the domestic arena. Mahathir's Look East policy, for instance, sought to learn from the economic successes of East Asian nations. This international perspective played a vital role in molding Malaysia's economic landscape. The impact of Mahathir's policies was profound. It led to advancements in various sectors, from manufacturing to services, and from construction to information technology. The transformation elevated Malaysia's global standing, positioning it as an attractive hub for foreign investors. Beyond Mahathir, Malaysia continued its economic transformation journey. The country's economy diversified further, with the service sector gaining more prominence. This evolution was also marked by an increased emphasis on innovation and technology, ensuring Malaysia's competitiveness in the global market. However, it's important to note that the journey wasn't without challenges. The Asian financial crisis of 1997 and the global economic downturn of 2008 posed significant hurdles, but Malaysia's resilience and strategic interventions helped it navigate these turbulent times. In essence, Malaysia's economic transformation exemplifies the power of vision and strategic economic policies. It underlines the importance of effective implementation and the ability to adapt to global economic trends. This journey offers valuable insights and lessons for nations embarking on their own path of economic transformation. Malaysia's economic transformation is a testament to the power of vision, strategic policies, and effective implementation. This is Mr. Explainer. For more enlightening content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Ever wondered why Scandinavian countries consistently rank among the wealthiest and happiest in the world? It's a question that has intrigued economists and social scientists alike for decades. These nations, nestled in the northernmost part of Europe, are renowned not just for their breathtaking landscapes, but also for their robust economies and remarkably satisfied citizens. The secret to their success? It's called the Nordic model, a unique socio-economic system that these countries have finely tuned over the years. A system that ingeniously combines free market capitalism with a strong welfare state, creating a balance that promotes both wealth creation and social equality. It's a model that has proven its mettle, with Scandinavian nations frequently topping global indexes for prosperity, quality of life, and even happiness. The Nordic model is not just a system, it's a philosophy, a way of life. Join us as we journey through the history and mechanics of the Nordic model. To understand the economic success of the Scandinavian nations, we must first delve into the roots of the Nordic model. Born in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, this unique approach to economics and social welfare was a response to the rapid industrialization sweeping across Europe. The Nordic model represents an intricate dance between capitalism and welfare. On one hand, these countries embraced free market capitalism, fostering competition and innovation. On the other hand, they also prioritized the welfare of their citizens, ensuring that everyone had access to quality healthcare, education, and social security. This balance between economic dynamism and social welfare is a defining characteristic of the Nordic model and a key factor in its success. Let's take a step back to the late 1800s. As industrialization took root, it brought with it social and economic challenges. Scandinavian countries, like their European counterparts, were not immune to these upheavals. However, what set them apart was their response. Instead of resisting change, they adapted, crafting a system that combined the best of both worlds. The process was far from smooth, though. Political and labor movements played a critical role in shaping the Nordic model. In the early 20th century, labor unions in these countries began to gain strength, pressing for better working conditions and wages. This pressure from below was matched by political will from above. Progressive political parties, recognizing the need for change, championed policies that supported workers and promoted social welfare. But it was more than just policies and politics. The Nordic model was built on a strong foundation of trust and cooperation. Citizens trusted their government to act in their best interest, and the government, in turn, trusted its citizens. This high level of social trust is another hallmark of the Nordic model, and it continues to play a vital role in its success today. As the world plunged into economic instability, the Nordic model stood firm, proving its resilience and effectiveness. It's a testament to the power of balance between capitalism and welfare, between individual needs and collective responsibility, and between change and stability. The Nordic model, while simple in concept, is a complex system of economic, political, and social mechanisms. It's a bit like a well-oiled machine, with each component playing a crucial role in keeping the whole system running smoothly. Let's take a closer look at these components. Firstly, we have free market capitalism. This isn't necessarily unique to the Nordic model, but it's still an essential part. It encourages competition, drives innovation, and plays a significant role in economic growth. Businesses are free to enter the market, set their prices, and compete against each other, but they do so within a framework of strong government regulation to prevent monopolies, protect consumers, and maintain fair competition. The second pillar of the Nordic model is the strong welfare state. This is where it starts to differentiate itself from other models. The welfare state in Nordic countries is extensive and inclusive, providing a wide range of services such as free education, healthcare, and generous unemployment benefits. Funded by high taxes, these services are available to all residents, ensuring that wealth is redistributed and social inequality is minimized. Lastly, we have collective bargaining. In Nordic countries, labor market policies are largely determined through negotiations between employers and trade unions. This system of collective bargaining helps to balance the power between employers and employees, ensuring fair wages, good working conditions, and job security. So, how do these elements work together? Well, free market capitalism drives the economic growth needed to fund the welfare state. The welfare state, in turn, ensures that the benefits of this growth are distributed evenly across society. Meanwhile, collective bargaining ensures that workers share in the prosperity and have a voice in their working conditions. This creates a virtuous cycle, where each component feeds into and supports the others. The result is a stable and prosperous economy, with high levels of social equality and a strong safety net for those who fall on hard times. Through this unique blend of elements, the Nordic model creates an environment where prosperity is shared and economic stability is the norm. The effectiveness of the Nordic model is not just theory, it's proven by the success of the Scandinavian countries. The economic prosperity of these nations is a testament to the strength of this model, and it's not just about the numbers, it's about the quality of life, the societal structure, and the overall happiness of the citizens. When we talk about economic success, we often look at GDP per capita. Scandinavian countries consistently rank high on this front. Norway, for instance, is one of the wealthiest countries in the world in terms of GDP per capita. Sweden and Denmark are not far behind. But a high GDP is not the only indicator of economic success. One of the most striking features of the Scandinavian economies is their low-income inequality. Unlike many other developed economies, the wealth in these countries is distributed relatively evenly. This is largely due to the progressive tax system and the extensive welfare state, both key components of the Nordic model. But the success of the Nordic model goes beyond just the economy. It also translates into a high standard of living. Scandinavian countries consistently top global rankings for quality of life. They have excellent healthcare, world-class education, and robust social security systems. The citizens enjoy a high degree of economic security, which in turn contributes to their overall well-being and happiness. And then there's trust. In Scandinavian societies, there's a high level of trust in government and societal institutions. This trust is not built overnight. It's the result of years of transparent governance and policies that prioritize the welfare of all citizens. This trust is a crucial component of the Nordic model, as it enables the effective implementation of policy decisions. In a nutshell, the Nordic model has enabled Scandinavian countries to build economies that are not only prosperous, but also equitable. They have managed to strike a balance between economic efficiency and social welfare, creating societies where the wealth is not concentrated in the hands of a few, but distributed widely to benefit all. The economic success of Scandinavian countries is a testament to the power and effectiveness of the Nordic model. As we look towards the future, the question remains: can the Nordic model continue to deliver economic success? As we venture into the horizon of the 21st century, the Nordic model faces its fair share of challenges, each demanding innovative solutions and strategic adaptability. One such challenge is demographic changes. The aging population in Scandinavian countries is increasing, and with it, the pressure on welfare states. However, the Nordic countries have always shown a knack for turning challenges into opportunities. They've begun to focus on improving productivity and efficiency in public services, ensuring that the quality of life for their elderly doesn't diminish, while maintaining fiscal balance. Then comes globalization, another double-edged sword. It presents the risk of wage competition from low-income countries and the potential erosion of social cohesion. But again, the Nordic countries are not shying away. They're leveraging globalization by focusing on high-skill sectors and nurturing a well-educated workforce to compete on a global scale. They've also maintained strong social safety nets to protect those affected by the global market forces. And how can we forget technological advancement? While it poses a threat to traditional jobs, the Nordic countries see it as an opportunity to transition towards a knowledge-based economy. They are investing in education and training to equip their citizens with the skills needed for the jobs of the future. But perhaps the most striking characteristic of the Nordic model is its adaptability and resilience. It has shown time and again its ability to evolve and adjust to changing circumstances. Whether it was the oil crisis of the 70s, the financial crisis of the late 2000s, or the current demographic and technological shifts, the Nordic model has always found a way to not just survive, but thrive. While challenges lie ahead, the Nordic model has proven its resilience and adaptability, promising a future of continued prosperity for Scandinavian countries. These countries have shown us that with the right balance of market efficiency and social security, it is indeed possible to achieve economic success while ensuring a high quality of life for all citizens. The economic success of Scandinavian countries is no accident, but the result of a unique and effective economic model. We've explored the intriguing Nordic model, a system that blends free market capitalism with a strong welfare state. It's a model that values social security, high employment, and sustainable growth. We've delved into the key components of this model: high taxes for high-quality public services, strong labor rights, and an emphasis on equality and inclusivity. We've seen the profound impact of these principles leading to some of the highest living standards in the world. Looking ahead, we pondered the future of the Nordic model. Despite challenges such as an aging population and global economic shifts, these countries continue to adapt and thrive. Next time you ponder on the success of Scandinavian countries, remember the Nordic model, a model of shared prosperity and economic stability. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Mr. Explainer for more insightful videos. Picture this. In the 1980s and 90s, Colombia, a country rich in natural resources, was one of the world's most dangerous places, marred by drug violence and an unstable economy. The nation was in turmoil, its economic future hanging by a thread. The infamous reign of drug lord Pablo Escobar wreaked havoc on the Colombian society and economy. The drug trade, while lucrative for some, brought the country to its knees. Rampant corruption seeped into every corner of the government, undermining the rule of law and economic stability. The high levels of poverty and unemployment were a stark contrast to the vast wealth accumulated by the drug cartels. It was a dark time for Colombia, a period marked by violence, economic struggles, and despair. But as the 21st century dawned, Colombia began to see a glimmer of hope. In the early 2000s, Colombia started to make a dramatic turnaround. The nation, once plagued by violence and economic instability, began to see a glimmer of hope. The government, under new leadership, embarked on a mission to combat the drug trafficking and violence that had held the country captive for decades. The efforts were multifaceted, comprehensive, and relentless. Security forces were strengthened, and the war on drug cartels began in earnest. As the government clamped down on these illegal operations, a significant change was witnessed. The incessant violence that once characterized many of Colombia's cities began to subside, and a semblance of peace started to return. But this was not just a war against violence, it was a fight for economic stability, for the prosperity of the Colombian people. The government made significant efforts to strengthen institutional frameworks, to build a nation where the rule of law was respected, and where businesses could thrive without fear. Investors, who had once shied away from Colombia, began to take note. The improvements in security, coupled with a stronger institutional framework, made Colombia an increasingly attractive destination for foreign investment. As capital flowed into the country, new businesses sprouted, jobs were created, and the economy began to grow. One of the most profound impacts of these efforts was the significant reduction in poverty rates. Millions of Colombians were lifted out of poverty, their lives transformed by the opportunities that a stable and growing economy provided. It was a testament to the power of economic development, of the potential that lay within Colombia. The government's efforts did not go unnoticed. Colombia's economic transformation was hailed by international observers, its success stories celebrated globally. But while the progress was significant, it was only the beginning. But the true economic transformation was yet to come. The nation stood on the cusp of an economic boom, poised to take its place among the world's fastest-growing economies. The stage was set for Colombia's rise from violence to investment. From 2010 onwards, Colombia's economy started to boom. This upswing wasn't a happy accident, but the result of several key factors working in harmony. Let's unpack these, shall we? Firstly, there was a significant growth in exports. Colombia has always been rich in natural resources, but the surge in global commodity prices gave the export sector a hefty boost. The country's oil, coal, and gold reserves became more lucrative than ever, attracting a wealth of international investment. Speaking of investment, the second factor in this economic revival was a substantial increase in foreign direct investment. As Colombia's reputation as a stable destination for investment grew, so too did the influx of foreign capital. Investors were drawn to the country's potential in sectors such as oil and mining, but also to its burgeoning services sector. This leads us to the third factor, the rise of the middle class. As the economy grew, so too did the purchasing power of Colombia's citizens. More people were lifted out of poverty and into the middle class, creating a new, robust consumer market. This shift added fuel to the economic fire, propelling further growth in sectors like retail, housing, and services. But it wasn't just traditional sectors that experienced growth. Colombia also started to make a name for itself in the world of technology and innovation. The country's tech sector, once in its infancy, started to mature and expand, creating jobs and attracting yet more investment. All these factors combined to create a virtuous cycle of growth and prosperity. Increased exports led to more investment, which boosted the middle class, which in turn spurred further growth in various sectors. It was a period of rapid expansion and transformation that changed the face of Colombia's economy. Today, Colombia is one of the fastest-growing economies in Latin America. The country has come a long way from its tumultuous past, and its economic journey is a testament to the resilience and resourcefulness of its people. It's a tale of reinvention and resurgence that continues to inspire and captivate the world. Despite its impressive economic transformation, Colombia still faces significant challenges. The road to economic prosperity, as we know, is seldom smooth, and for Colombia the path is fraught with formidable obstacles. At the top of the list, glaringly, is the high level of inequality. Despite the strides made in reducing poverty, the wealth gap remains a pressing issue. A significant portion of the population still lives in poverty, while a small elite holds a vast majority of the country's wealth. This disparity is not only a social issue but also an economic one, as it stifles consumption and limits the potential for domestic demand-led growth. In tandem with inequality, the prevalence of the informal economy is another hurdle. Millions of Colombians work in jobs that are not regulated or protected by the state. This situation not only leaves workers vulnerable, but also robs the state of vital tax revenues. The informal economy is a complex issue tied to broader structural problems, including lack of access to quality education and opportunities for skills development. Addressing these challenges requires structural reforms. The government has been proactive in this regard, implementing strategies aimed at reducing inequality and formalizing the economy. These include investments in education and infrastructure, labor market reforms, and efforts to broaden the tax base. But the task is mammoth, and the journey far from over. The government needs to remain steadfast in its commitment to these reforms, and the international community must continue to support Colombia's transformation. The potential for further economic growth is undeniable. With its rich natural resources, strategic geographic location, and young dynamic population, Colombia has the ingredients for sustained economic success. However, the recipe for success also calls for continued reform, investment, and, importantly, patience. The future of Colombia's economy lies in its ability to address these challenges and continue its upward trajectory. The road may be long and the challenges significant, but with determination, the Colombian economy has the potential to reach even greater heights. Can the rise of Colombia's economy serve as a model for other countries? This is a question that has been echoing across the globe as nations witness the remarkable transformation of Colombia from a country once known for violence and instability to a beacon of economic growth and investment. What can nations learn from Colombia's story? Well, a multitude of things. At the heart of Colombia's economic turnaround is the strength of its institutions. These institutions, from the government to the judiciary, have played a crucial role in stabilizing the country, ensuring the rule of law, and instilling confidence among investors. So, for countries grappling with similar challenges, strengthening institutions should be a top priority. Security is another critical component. Colombia's economic boom wouldn't have been possible without a significant improvement in security. The government's efforts to curb violence and maintain law and order have created an environment conducive to business and investment. This shows that establishing security is not just a social responsibility, but also an economic necessity. However, economic growth in itself is not enough. It needs to be inclusive. In Colombia's case, the economic boom has not only been about soaring GDP numbers but also about creating jobs, reducing poverty, and ensuring that the benefits of growth reach every corner of the country. This is a lesson for all nations, to ensure that economic growth leaves no one behind. Moreover, it's important to remember that this journey is not a sprint, but a marathon. It requires patience, persistence, and an unflinching commitment to reform. Colombia's transformation didn't happen overnight. It was the result of years of hard work, strategic planning, and unwavering resolve. In the end, every country's path to economic growth will be unique, shaped by its own set of circumstances and challenges. But Colombia's story offers valuable insights that nations can draw upon as they chart their own course towards economic prosperity. As Colombia continues its economic rise, the world watches with interest. From the throes of violence and economic struggles, Colombia has risen to become one of the fastest-growing economies in Latin America. The journey has been far from straightforward. From a dark past marred by violence and economic instability, the nation has made a remarkable turnaround. The economic boom, driven by bold reforms, strategic investments, and an unwavering commitment to progress, has set Colombia on an upward trajectory. Yet the road ahead is not without its challenges. The country must continue to tackle issues such as inequality and poverty, while also maintaining the momentum of growth. Despite these hurdles, Colombia's story serves as a beacon of hope, a testament to the transformative power of resilience and economic reform. As we delve into these narratives of nations, we uncover the intricate interplay of history, economy, and human spirit. This is Mr. Explainer, signing off. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more insightful content like this. Stay curious and keep exploring. What makes Argentina, a country rich in resources and potential, struggle with recurring economic crises? This South American gem, blessed with fertile lands, abundant minerals, and a highly educated workforce, is indeed an enigma. Its economic history is a complex tapestry of potential and pitfalls, of riches and recessions. Why, despite its advantages, has Argentina faced such economic turmoil? In this video, we will explore the chronological order of events that led to Argentina's economic crises and the subsequent reform efforts. Our journey begins in the early 20th century, a golden era for Argentina's economy. As the sun rose on the dawn of a new century, Argentina was poised to take its place on the global stage as an economic powerhouse. A combination of fertile land, an influx of European immigrants, and foreign investment had created a perfect storm of prosperity. The nation's vast pampas were a breadbasket to the world, its beef and grain exports feeding millions across the globe. By the 1920s, Argentina was one of the top 10 economies in the world, rubbing shoulders with the likes of the United States and the United Kingdom. The Argentine peso was strong, and the nation's wealth was evident in the grandeur of Buenos Aires, often referred to as the Paris of South America. The bustling ports, thriving agriculture, and burgeoning industry painted a picture of a nation on the rise. But as the saying goes, pride comes before a fall. And for Argentina, that fall came in the form of the Great Depression. The global economic downturn that began in 1929 sent shockwaves through Argentina's economy. The demand for Argentina's exports plummeted as countries around the world closed their doors to foreign goods in a desperate attempt to protect their own economies. The Argentine peso, once so strong, was devalued, and the nation's wealth began to dwindle. The government attempted to stimulate the economy through public works projects and increased state intervention, but these measures were too little, too late. By the mid-1930s, Argentina's golden era was a distant memory. The nation was mired in recession, its economic growth stunted, and its future uncertain. The Great Depression marked the end of the golden era, setting the stage for a series of economic crises. As we'll see in the next chapter of Argentina's economic story, the road to recovery would be long and fraught with challenges. Enter the era of Peronism, a period marked by economic decline. As we dive into this chapter of Argentina's economic story, we find ourselves in the mid-20th century under the leadership of Juan Perón. Juan Perón, a charismatic leader with a populist agenda, set out to reshape Argentina's economy. One of his key strategies was to encourage industrialization as a pathway to economic prosperity. He championed the establishment of new industries and the expansion of existing ones, hoping to reduce the country's dependence on agricultural exports. However, these attempts at industrialization were not without their challenges. The government's heavy involvement in the economy led to an imbalance. Industries were often nationalized, placing them under government control. While this approach was intended to protect the interests of the working class, it often resulted in inefficiencies and a lack of competition. In addition to this, Perón's economic policies led to increased government spending. This spending, funded by printing more money, sparked a cycle of inflation that spiraled out of control. As prices rose, the cost of living increased, eroding the purchasing power of the Argentine peso. Economic instability ensued. The Argentine economy became characterized by a boom and bust cycle. Periods of rapid economic growth were followed by sharp downturns. This volatility made it difficult for businesses to plan for the future, stifling investment and economic development. Perón's policies also led to economic isolation. The focus on self-sufficiency and protectionism led to a reduction in foreign trade. This isolation from the global economy hampered Argentina's ability to benefit from global economic trends and innovations. In the end, Perón's ambitious economic policies did not deliver the prosperity he had promised. Instead, they set the stage for an unstable economy that would struggle for decades. Peronism's economic policies set the stage for an unstable economy that would struggle for decades. And as we'll see in the next scene, this struggle would continue as Argentina grappled with a military dictatorship and a crippling debt crisis. The military dictatorship of the 1970s and 1980s brought a new set of challenges. As Argentina sank into the clutches of a military junta, the country's economic landscape changed dramatically. The regime, eager to modernize the economy, embarked on a series of economic policies that would have profound consequences. The dictatorship, for one, initiated a process of large-scale deregulation and liberalization. They believed that by opening up the economy to foreign investments, they could stimulate growth. But what they failed to consider was that Argentina's economy was not yet robust enough to compete with more developed global markets. This decision, though seemingly progressive, led to an influx of cheap foreign goods that crippled local industries and led to widespread unemployment. Simultaneously, the regime embarked on a massive borrowing spree. The government, eager to finance its ambitious modernization projects, started borrowing heavily from international lenders. The foreign debt ballooned from $2 billion in the early 70s to a staggering $60 billion by the end of the decade. This alarming rate of borrowing, coupled with a global recession in the early 80s, resulted in a debt crisis. As the foreign debt mounted, so did Argentina's economic woes. The government's efforts to service the debt led to severe austerity measures, which only exacerbated the economic downturn. Public services were cut, wages stagnated, and the cost of living skyrocketed. This economic instability, coupled with rampant corruption within the regime, led to a loss of public confidence in the government. The debt crisis of the 1980s reached its apex with the hyperinflation crisis of 1989. As the government printed more money to pay off its debts, inflation soared to unprecedented levels. Prices doubled every month, and the Argentine peso lost virtually all of its value. The economy was in freefall, and the country was plunged into a state of economic chaos. The debt crisis of the 1980s led to a severe economic downturn, culminating in the hyperinflation crisis of 1989. The military dictatorship's economic policies had left the country on the brink of economic collapse, setting the stage for the next chapter in Argentina's economic saga. In the 1990s, Argentina embarked on a journey of economic reforms. As the decade dawned, Argentina found itself at a crossroads. The country was grappling with hyperinflation, a lingering debt crisis, and an economy in shambles. Hope came in the form of the Convertibility Plan, a bold and ambitious reform effort introduced in 1991. The plan pegged the Argentine peso to the US dollar, effectively putting an end to the rampant inflation that had plagued the nation for years. Initially, the convertibility plan seemed to be the magic bullet Argentina desperately needed. Inflation was tamed, the economy stabilized, and for a brief period, Argentina experienced a period of robust economic growth. However, this prosperity was not destined to last. The convertibility plan, while successful in curbing inflation, had its downsides. The fixed exchange rate made Argentine goods more expensive on the global market, leading to a decline in exports. Simultaneously, the country found itself unable to devalue its currency to combat economic downturns. By the late 1990s, the Argentine economy was once again on shaky ground. A series of external shocks, including the Russian financial crisis and Brazil's devaluation of its currency, pushed Argentina into a severe recession. The country's inability to devalue its currency exacerbated the impact of these shocks. And by the end of 2001, Argentina was in the throes of a full-blown economic crisis. This crisis of 2001 was marked by widespread unemployment, a banking system collapse, and a default on over $100 billion in public debt. It was a painful period for Argentina, and the effects are still felt today. However, as with many crises, the economic turmoil of 2001 was also a catalyst for change. In the years that followed, Argentina embarked on a new wave of economic reforms, efforts aimed at restoring stability and fostering sustainable growth. The 2001 crisis was a turning point, leading to a new wave of economic reforms. These reforms have shaped Argentina's economic trajectory in the new millennium, a story that continues to unfold. Today, Argentina continues to grapple with economic challenges. A nation blessed with abundant natural resources and a highly educated populace, Argentina has often been seen as a country of immense potential. Yet, the reality has often been one of unfulfilled promise, due to a series of economic crises and missteps. The current economic situation in Argentina is a mixed bag. On one hand, the country has been making strides in reducing inflation, a persistent issue that has plagued its economy for decades. On the other hand, Argentina continues to face high levels of debt, and unemployment remains a significant concern. Recent reform efforts have focused on improving fiscal discipline, increasing transparency, and fostering a more business-friendly environment. These are positive steps that, if sustained, could help Argentina unlock its economic potential. Yet, much work remains to be done. Looking ahead, the future prospects for Argentina are cautiously optimistic. The country has a strong industrial base, a vibrant agricultural sector, and a growing services industry. Moreover, Argentina's young and educated workforce is a valuable asset that could drive innovation and economic growth. While Argentina's economic journey has been turbulent, the country continues to strive for stability and growth. The path to prosperity is fraught with challenges, but with determination and sound economic policies, Argentina has the potential to turn the page and write a new chapter in its economic story. Is it possible for a country once crippled by an oppressive regime to rise and become a significant player in the global economy? Today we dive deep into South Africa's economic journey. Let's start with apartheid, a system of institutionalized racial segregation that reigned in South Africa from 1948 to 1994. This was more than just a social disaster, it was an economic catastrophe. The apartheid regime constructed an economy that was designed to favor the minority white population at the expense of the majority black inhabitants. Under apartheid, the social and economic segregation was profound. The white minority had access to the best jobs, the best education, and the best land. On the flip side, the black majority was consigned to low-wage labor, inferior education, and limited land ownership. This created a skewed economic structure that was not just unfair, but also unsustainable. In addition to the internal imbalances, there were external pressures as well. The international community largely condemned apartheid, and this led to a slew of sanctions against South Africa. These sanctions severely limited foreign investment and trade, further straining an already struggling economy. The economic implications of apartheid were far-reaching. South Africa's GDP per capita, a measure of economic performance, was stagnant for much of the apartheid era. The country's economy was unable to grow and thrive due to the oppressive policies in place. The economic disparity between the white and black populations grew wider and wider, creating a volatile and unstable economic environment. The apartheid regime left an indelible mark on South Africa's economy. It created an economic system that was fundamentally flawed and deeply divided along racial lines. The majority of the country's wealth was concentrated in the hands of a small white minority, leaving the vast majority of the population impoverished and disenfranchised. As we've seen, apartheid severely hampered South Africa's economic growth and development. But how did the country begin to turn things around? With the end of apartheid in 1994, South Africa embarked on a path of economic reform. But what were these changes, and how did they impact the country's economy? South Africa's post-apartheid economic reforms were built on three main pillars: the introduction of free market policies, attempts to redress economic inequalities, and the opening up of the country's economy to the world. Firstly, South Africa bid farewell to the rigid, state-controlled economic system of the past and welcomed free market policies. By embracing capitalism, the country stimulated private sector growth and entrepreneurship. It was a bold move that paid off. The economy began to flourish, and South Africa saw a period of sustained economic growth. Next, the government took steps to redress the economic inequalities that were a legacy of apartheid. This was a challenging task, requiring careful balancing of economic growth with social justice. The government introduced policies aimed at improving the living standards of the majority black population. These included housing programs, improved access to basic services, and measures to increase black participation in the economy. But perhaps the most significant reform was opening up South Africa's economy to the world. For many years, the country had been isolated due to international sanctions imposed during the apartheid era. Now, it was ready to invite the world in. South Africa became a beacon for foreign investment, and its economy integrated into the global market. The results of these reforms were impressive. South Africa emerged as the largest economy in Africa, a position it held until the mid-2010s. The country saw its gross domestic product grow by an average of 3% per annum between 1994 and 2007, and millions were lifted out of poverty. Post-apartheid reforms brought about significant economic growth, but it's not been a smooth ride. Let's examine the challenges that South Africa has faced. In the next scene, we'll delve into the complexities and setbacks that have marked South Africa's economic journey and how the nation continues to navigate these waters. Stay with us. Despite significant strides since apartheid, South Africa's economy is not without its challenges. Today we delve into the hurdles this nation continues to face. In the wake of transformation, South Africa grapples with a myriad of economic challenges. At the forefront, the high unemployment rate stands as a stark reminder of the work that still needs to be done. With over a quarter of its workforce unemployed, South Africa's economic growth potential remains significantly untapped. Inequality, another deeply rooted issue, hampers economic progress. The gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen, with the top 10% of households accounting for over half of the nation's total income. This stark wealth disparity is a legacy of the apartheid era and continues to strain social harmony and economic growth. Let's not forget about corruption, a pervasive problem that affects many economies globally, but is particularly pronounced in South Africa. From public sector fraud to corporate embezzlement, corruption drains vital resources, undermines trust, and hinders economic development. Lastly, the impact of global economic trends cannot be overlooked. As a developing nation, South Africa is vulnerable to fluctuations in global markets. The recent downturn in commodity prices, for instance, has hit the nation's mining industry hard, leading to job losses and decreased economic output. But all is not doom and gloom. Acknowledging these challenges is the first step towards overcoming them. The South African government, in collaboration with the private sector, is actively addressing these issues. In response to the high unemployment rate, for instance, initiatives have been launched to stimulate job creation, particularly for the youth. These include skills development programs, entrepreneurship encouragement, and investment in sectors with high employment potential. To tackle inequality, efforts are being made to improve access to quality education and healthcare, and to implement progressive taxation. The government is also prioritizing land reform, a contentious issue that is critical to addressing historical injustices and promoting economic inclusion. In fighting corruption, the government has strengthened its law enforcement agencies and is promoting transparency and accountability in public institutions. Additionally, businesses are being encouraged to adopt ethical practices and to foster a culture of integrity. And as for the impact of global economic trends, South Africa is diversifying its economy to reduce reliance on commodities. This includes promoting sectors like tourism, manufacturing, and information technology, which are less vulnerable to global market fluctuations. South Africa's economic journey is far from over. With numerous challenges on the horizon, how will this nation continue to shape its economic future? The answer lies in the country's resilience, its commitment to reform, and its determination to rise above the storm. South Africa's story is one of courage and perseverance, and while the path may be fraught with obstacles, the nation is steadfast in its journey towards economic prosperity. South Africa's economic journey, from the dark days of apartheid to its current challenges, is a testament to the resilience and potential of this nation. Let's take a moment to look back at the road we've traveled together through this video. Our journey began in the era of apartheid, a time when the South African economy was shackled by oppressive policies that not only divided the nation, but also crippled its economic potential. The exclusion of the majority of the population from active economic participation led to a stagnant economy that was characterized by high levels of inequality and poverty. But then came the dawn of a new era. Post-apartheid, reforms were implemented, and the country began to chart a new economic course. These reforms aimed at creating an inclusive economy that left no one behind. The government sought to dismantle the economic structures of apartheid and to create an environment where every citizen could contribute to and benefit from the nation's economic growth. And indeed, these efforts bore fruit as the country began to see improvements in economic indicators and a reduction in inequality. But the journey hasn't been all smooth sailing. Today, South Africa faces a number of challenges that threaten to derail its economic progress. High unemployment rates, particularly among the youth, continue to be a thorn in the country's side. Economic inequality, while reduced, still remains a significant issue. And the nation's economy is also confronted with external challenges such as fluctuating global commodity prices and the impacts of climate change. Yet, despite these hurdles, South Africa continues to forge ahead. And this is where the true potential of this nation lies. It's in its resilience, in its ability to rise above the storm, and in its commitment to creating a prosperous and inclusive economy. The nation has shown time and again that it is not defined by its challenges, but rather by its ability to overcome them. Looking forward, there's a sense of optimism about South Africa's economic future. The nation is rich in natural resources, has a vibrant and diverse culture, and a young and dynamic population that is eager to contribute to its economic development. These are the ingredients for a thriving, resilient economy. The journey of South Africa's economic rise is far from over. It's a journey that is marked by both triumphs and challenges. But as the nation continues to navigate its economic path, one thing is clear. This nation is not defined by its past, but by its potential for the future. Thanks for joining us in this exploration of South Africa's economic rise. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to Mr. Explainer for more enlightening content. Have you ever wondered how South Korea, a country once ravaged by war, transformed itself into an economic powerhouse in just a few decades? Picture this. In the aftermath of the Korean War, South Korea was left in ruins, its economy in shambles. The country was grappling with the harsh realities of war, a devastated infrastructure, a crippled industrial sector, and a GDP per capita lower than some countries in sub-Saharan Africa. In the early 1960s, South Korea was predominantly agrarian, with a struggling economy and a bleak outlook. The nation was on the brink of becoming a failed state, its future uncertain. Yet, fast forward to the present day, and we see a dramatically different picture. South Korea now stands as one of the world's leading economies, an exemplar of rapid economic development. But how did this miraculous transformation occur? What were the key turning points in South Korea's economic history? The first phase of South Korea's economic transformation started in the 1960s under the leadership of Park Chung-hee. A military leader turned president, Park had a vision to propel South Korea out of poverty and onto the world stage. His strategy? A bold economic plan that would reshape the nation's future. At the heart of Park's economic policies was the concept of export-led industrialization. Rather than focusing on domestic consumption, South Korea targeted global markets, producing goods that were in high demand worldwide. This strategy was a dramatic departure from the agricultural economy of the past, and it required a significant shift in the nation's resources and workforce. To support this industrialization, Park understood the necessity of a highly educated workforce. He prioritized investment in education, viewing it as a catalyst for economic growth. South Korean children were encouraged to excel academically, with the understanding that their success was tied to the nation's prosperity. This focus on education led to a surge in literacy rates and a highly skilled labor force, ready to take on the challenges of a rapidly evolving economy. However, Park's economic blueprint didn't stop at education and industrialization. He also established industrial conglomerates known as chaebols. These family-controlled businesses like Samsung and Hyundai were given government support to become global leaders in their respective industries. The chaebols played a crucial role in South Korea's economic growth, driving innovation and creating thousands of jobs. Yet, it's important to remember that this economic transformation didn't happen overnight. It was a journey fraught with challenges. From political unrest to economic downturns, South Korea faced numerous obstacles along the way. But through grit and determination, the nation pressed on, driven by a collective desire to improve their standard of living and secure a prosperous future. These policies laid the groundwork for South Korea's future economic success. But the journey was far from over. As we'll see in the next scene, the road to becoming an economic powerhouse was a long one, marked by both triumphs and trials. Yet, it was these very challenges that forged South Korea's economic resilience, shaping it into the global leader it is today. However, the Asian financial crisis of 1997 to 1998 threatened to undo South Korea's economic progress. The crisis, which began in Thailand with the financial collapse of the Thai baht, quickly spread across Asia, hitting South Korea hard. The won, South Korea's currency, plummeted in value, and the country found itself on the brink of a financial meltdown. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, stepped in to prevent a complete economic collapse, offering a bailout package of approximately $58 billion, one of the largest in history. But this lifeline didn't come without strings attached. The IMF demanded sweeping economic reforms in exchange for the bailout, pushing South Korea towards a new economic era. The first major reform was a massive overhaul of corporate governance. Chaebols, the family-owned conglomerates that had powered South Korea's economic growth for decades, were put under the microscope. The government imposed stricter regulations, demanding greater transparency and accountability. Chaebols were forced to streamline their operations, focusing on core businesses and cutting off unprofitable ventures. Next came the process of financial liberalization. South Korea's financial sector, which had been heavily regulated, was opened up. Interest rates were deregulated and foreign banks were allowed to operate freely in the country. This liberalization allowed for a more competitive and efficient financial sector, which in turn fueled economic growth. The reforms were not easy. They led to the bankruptcy of many chaebols and a rise in unemployment. Many South Koreans felt the pain of the economic upheaval, but it was a necessary pain. These reforms laid the groundwork for a more sustainable economic model, one that was less vulnerable to external shocks. The Asian financial crisis was a dark chapter in South Korea's economic history, but it was also a turning point. It forced the country to reassess its economic strategies, to innovate, and to adapt. And adapt it did. South Korea didn't just survive the crisis, it thrived in the aftermath. Despite the setbacks, South Korea emerged from the crisis stronger and more resilient than ever. It learned from its mistakes, corrected its course, and continued on its path to becoming the economic powerhouse we see today. In the 21st century, South Korea's economy has been driven by technology and innovation. This statement rings true as we look at the rapid transformation of this small Asian country into a global technological powerhouse. South Korea's rise in the technology sector has been nothing short of meteoric. Homegrown companies like Samsung and LG, once considered mere regional players, have now evolved into global tech giants. These firms have not only driven economic growth, but have also placed South Korea on the world map as a hub for cutting-edge technology. Samsung, for instance, has grown from a small trading company to a global leader in various fields such as electronics, shipbuilding, and construction. Its electronics division in particular has made significant strides in the smartphone industry, redefining user experiences and pushing the boundaries of innovation. Similarly, LG has made its mark in the electronics and telecommunications sector. Its products, known for their quality and innovation, have found their way into homes and offices around the world. But the success of these companies is not a mere coincidence. It's the result of South Korea's strategic investment in research and development. The country has consistently ranked among the top spenders globally in R&D as a percentage of its GDP. This investment has fostered a culture of innovation, leading to breakthroughs in various fields such as semiconductors, telecommunications, and digital media. South Korea's commitment to technological advancement is also reflected in its robust infrastructure. The country boasts one of the world's fastest internet speeds and highest smartphone penetration rates, providing a fertile ground for the growth of digital industries. Moreover, the government's proactive policies and initiatives have played a crucial role in creating a conducive environment for tech companies to thrive. Programs aimed at fostering startups, promoting innovation, and supporting research and development have all contributed to the country's technological ascent. South Korea's investment in technology and innovation has propelled it to the forefront of the global economy. It's a testament to the country's resilience, vision, and relentless pursuit of excellence. As we move further into the 21st century, South Korea's technological prowess is set to continue shaping the world's economic landscape. But what does the future hold for South Korea's economy? As we delve deeper into the 21st century, South Korea faces an array of challenges that could potentially hinder its economic progress. One of the most pressing issues is the country's rapidly aging population. The birth rate has plummeted to one of the lowest globally, and the nation is on track to become the world's oldest society by the middle of the century. This demographic shift creates a substantial burden on the economy, straining social security systems and reducing the labor force. Simultaneously, South Korea's geopolitical location presents another obstacle. The tense relationship with North Korea often generates economic uncertainties. From trade restrictions to the threat of military conflicts, these political tensions can disrupt economic stability and deter foreign investment. However, it's not all doom and gloom. South Korea's challenges are also accompanied by exciting opportunities. The country's thriving startup sector, for instance, is a beacon of hope. Fueled by government support and a culture of innovation, South Korean entrepreneurs are breaking new grounds in fields such as artificial intelligence, fintech, and e-commerce. These startups are not only creating jobs but also driving technological advancement and economic diversification. Equally promising is the country's commitment to renewable energy. South Korea is one of the world's top 10 energy consumers, yet it's making significant strides towards a greener future. The government's Green New Deal, a bold initiative aimed at achieving carbon neutrality by 2050, has sparked a surge in investments in renewable energy projects. This shift not only helps combat climate change, but also opens up a whole new sector for economic growth. Despite the hurdles, South Korea's economic journey has always been about turning challenges into opportunities. It's this resilience, this ability to adapt and innovate, that has propelled the country from a war-torn nation to an economic powerhouse. Despite these challenges, South Korea's remarkable economic transformation provides a blueprint for other developing countries. In conclusion, South Korea's economic transformation is nothing short of a miracle. It's a story of a nation that rose from the ashes of a devastating war to become an economic titan. Central to this transformation were the economic policies of Park Chung-hee. His relentless focus on export-oriented industrialization laid the foundation for South Korea's economic leap. The Asian financial crisis of the late 90s was a significant test of South Korea's resilience. However, the crisis served as a catalyst, prompting significant economic reforms that further strengthened the country's economic standing. In the new millennium, technology and innovation became the driving forces of the Korean economy. The rise of tech giants like Samsung and LG have placed South Korea at the forefront of the global technological revolution. From a country devastated by war to an economic powerhouse, South Korea's story is a testament to the power of determination, innovation, and strategic planning. Have you ever pondered how a small desert country like Qatar transformed into one of the wealthiest nations in the world? Our story begins in the early 19th century. Qatar, a small peninsula on the Arabian Gulf, was a nation reliant on the sea. Its economy was dominated by pearl hunting and fishing. These were the lifeblood of the Qatari people, who had mastered the art of diving for pearls and casting nets for fish. It was a simple life, dictated by the rhythms of the sea and the desert. But the world was changing, and with it, the fortunes of this small desert nation. The pearl industry was hit hard in the early 20th century by the introduction of cultured pearls from Japan. This left the economy in shambles and Qatar in search of a new economic lifeline. Their prayers were answered in the form of black gold. In the late 30s, oil was discovered in Qatar. This was a game changer. The once quiet fishing and pearl diving nation was thrust into the global spotlight. The discovery of oil propelled Qatar onto the world stage and set the nation on a path of rapid development and economic growth. Over the ensuing decades, Qatar made the most of its newfound wealth. The nation invested heavily in infrastructure, education, and healthcare, laying the groundwork for a prosperous future. But it was the discovery of another, even more abundant resource that would truly transform Qatar's economy. In the 70s, vast reserves of natural gas were found off Qatar's coast. This discovery turned out to be the North Field, one of the largest natural gas fields in the world. The exploitation of this resource has since played a pivotal role in shaping Qatar's economic trajectory, catapulting the nation into the ranks of the world's richest. From a humble fishing and pearl diving community to a global energy powerhouse, the transformation of Qatar's economy has been nothing short of remarkable. But at the heart of it all was the discovery and effective utilization of oil and natural gas. The discovery of oil and natural gas laid a strong foundation for Qatar's economic journey. So buckle up as we delve deeper into the fascinating economic rise of Qatar. The 1970s marked the beginning of an economic revolution in Qatar, thanks to the oil boom. This period was a turning point for the nation, a time when the vast reserves of black gold buried beneath the desert sands became a ticket to an economic transformation like no other. This was the era that kick-started Qatar's journey from a modest fishing and pearl diving economy to a global powerhouse, all thanks to the oil boom. The impact of this oil boom on Qatar's economy was profound to say the least. It led to rapid modernization and urbanization, with skyscrapers replacing traditional mud brick houses and highways crisscrossing the once barren desert landscapes. The revenue from oil exports fueled an unprecedented level of economic growth, propelling Qatar onto the world stage. But this growth was not without its challenges. The sudden influx of wealth brought about a host of issues, such as inflation and the overdependence on a single resource. It was a tricky balancing act, managing the newfound prosperity while ensuring long-term economic stability. Yet Qatar was not content to rest on its laurels. The nation recognized the need to invest the oil revenue wisely, and so it did. The windfall was used to develop infrastructure, build world-class educational institutions, and improve healthcare facilities. It was also used to raise living standards, with the Qatari government implementing a range of social welfare programs. What's more, the oil boom didn't just transform Qatar's physical landscape, it also had a profound impact on its societal structure. It brought about a shift in the workforce, with more and more Qataris moving away from traditional occupations to roles in the burgeoning oil industry. This shift paved the way for an influx of expatriates, further diversifying the nation's demographic makeup. In essence, the oil boom was a catalyst for change, propelling Qatar into an era of rapid development and prosperity. But it also illustrated the inherent risks of relying too heavily on a single resource. The oil boom indeed turned out to be a game-changer for Qatar, but reliance on a single resource was risky. Recognizing the need for diversification, Qatar embarked on an ambitious journey towards a diversified economy. As the 21st century dawned, Qatar began to understand the paramount importance of economic diversification. Being heavily reliant on oil and gas revenues, the country knew it needed to broaden its horizons to ensure ongoing prosperity. Consequently, Qatar set its eyes on new sectors such as finance, real estate, and tourism, which have since become significant contributors to its GDP. The finance sector, for instance, has seen tremendous growth. Qatar has become a hub for international finance, attracting multinational corporations and investors from around the globe. The nation's robust regulatory framework, coupled with its strategic location, has made it a favorable destination for finance. The real estate sector, on the other hand, has been driven by the country's rapid urbanization and population growth. From towering skyscrapers to sprawling residential complexes, the landscape of Qatar has been reshaped by this burgeoning industry. Meanwhile, tourism has also been a key component in Qatar's diversification strategy. The nation has invested heavily in promoting its cultural heritage and modern attractions alike, with world-class museums, sports events, and luxury resorts drawing visitors from all corners of the globe. Driving these diversification efforts is Qatar's long-term development plan, known as Vision 2030. This comprehensive strategy outlines the country's goals for sustainable and diversified growth, focusing on four main pillars: economic, social, human, and environmental development. Vision 2030 is not just about economic diversification, but about building a resilient and vibrant society that thrives in the face of global challenges. This shift towards a diversified economy has led to a reduction in Qatar's dependence on oil and gas revenues. It has also fostered innovation, created new job opportunities, and stimulated economic growth. Diversification was the key to reducing dependence on oil and gas and ensuring economic stability. With its eyes set firmly on the future, Qatar continues to strive towards achieving its Vision 2030, progressively transforming from a desert nation to a diversified global player. In 2017, Qatar faced an unprecedented challenge when it was subjected to a blockade by its neighbors. This blockade, as you can imagine, posed a substantial economic hurdle. Overnight, traditional trade routes were closed off, and Qatar found itself in a situation where it needed to rethink its economic strategy. Under normal circumstances, such a blockade could cripple an economy. However, Qatar was not about to let this blockade dictate its fate. Instead, it saw this as an opportunity to demonstrate its economic resilience and ingenuity. One of the major areas where this resilience was tested was in food security. Prior to the blockade, Qatar imported a large portion of its food. Suddenly, this was no longer an option, but Qatar didn't let this challenge defeat them. Instead, they took swift and decisive action to increase their self-sufficiency. They invested heavily in advanced farming techniques, ramped up local food production, and even constructed one of the world's largest dairy farms virtually overnight. This swift action not only secured the nation's food supply but also created a new, thriving sector within Qatar's economy. But it wasn't just food security where Qatar demonstrated its resilience. The country also took steps to diversify its trade partners, opening up new routes and relationships with countries around the world. It leveraged its position as a global energy player and its robust financial reserves to weather the economic storm. In the face of adversity, Qatar not only survived, it thrived. It turned an economic crisis into an opportunity for growth and diversification. It's a testament to Qatar's economic resilience and strategic planning that, despite the blockade, its economy continued to grow. Today, Qatar stands as a testament to the power of economic resilience. It has shown that with the right strategies, even the harshest of blockades can be overcome and turned into an opportunity for growth and diversification. The blockade indeed tested Qatar's economic resilience, and it came out stronger than ever. With its robust economic foundations and strategic vision, what does the future hold for Qatar's economy? As we've seen from its past, Qatar's economy is far from static. Its leaders have continuously proven their ability to adapt and innovate, preparing the nation for a future that transcends the oil era. The nation's wealth, once predominantly based on oil and gas, is now being invested in a variety of sectors, including technology, education, and healthcare. This diversification strategy is not only about sustainability, but also about creating a knowledge-based economy that is resilient and innovative. One of the significant steps taken by Qatar towards this goal is its heavy investment in technology and innovation. The nation is fostering a culture of technological innovation, encouraging startups, and investing in research and development. This focus on technology is not just for economic diversification, but also to enhance the quality of life for its residents, making Qatar a hub for innovation in the Middle East. In addition to investments in technology, Qatar is also looking towards mega events to boost its economy. The most notable of these is the FIFA World Cup, which Qatar will host in 2022. This event is expected to generate significant economic benefits, from infrastructure development to increased tourism. Moreover, the legacy of the World Cup will continue to impact the economy long after the event, with the newly developed infrastructure serving as a catalyst for future growth. But it's not just about mega events and technology. Qatar's economic strategy is holistic, focusing on various sectors like education, healthcare, and sports, making the nation a well-rounded global player. This diverse economic plan is designed to ensure that Qatar's economy remains resilient and sustainable, capable of withstanding global economic shifts and challenges. The journey of Qatar's economy from a desert to a diversified powerhouse is indeed a fascinating one. As Qatar continues to innovate and diversify, it sets a compelling example for nations worldwide. Its economic journey is a testament to its resilience and strategic vision, and as it continues on this path, the future indeed looks promising for this small yet mighty nation.